As a track and field athlete, it's extremely important to keep your back in shape because it's the center of your body, and it's where a lot of the force that you produce as a track and field athlete is generated from. So I'll tell you what, I do everything in my power to keep my back and my abdomen, my center of my body in shape, because I know I'm going to need it to bring out my optimum performance.
Professional athletes know how important it is to have a healthy body. Their livelihood depends on it. The same holds true for you as an industrial worker. You may not get the bright lights and fame, but you depend on your body just like the pros. And like the pros, sometimes you overdo it. Every year, more than 1 million workers hurt their backs. That brings serious consequences. Lost time, lost wages, and long-term pain. But those injuries don't have to happen. In this program, we'll look at how your back works, body mechanics, zone defense, proper grasping and lifting, as well as how to avoid repetitive stress with reverse stretching and mechanical advantage. Your back has 24 bones with flexible joints called vertebrae. The vertebrae are separated by discs and moved by muscles. They protect the core of your nervous system, your spinal cord. Lots of body parts are delicate, but your back and spine are as intricate as the most complicated game plan. Make sure you understand that plan before you get in the game.
The disc, it's not like a hockey puck. When people talk about discs going out, they don't shoot out to the side like that. They're attached firmly, but what they do is bulge. And you get what I call the jelly donut effect. If you put pressure on one side of the disc like that, you're going to tend to have that jelly in the middle of the disc bulge toward the back, which is where my finger is pointing. So squeezing like this causes bulging that way. If we look at the back, and if you can focus in on what's happening to these discs, you can see in the normal inward curve of the back, the pressure is toward the back of the disc, and it's keeping the gel pushed toward the front of the disc. Right behind the disc, see these little things sticking out? Those are your nerves. Those nerves go down into your legs. If this individual bends forward, you can see by the jelly donut effect how high those compressive forces are in front of the disc. And if there's any wear and tear on the back wall of that disc, it's going to allow the pressure and the bulging to come right against that nerve. The nerves tend to sit right behind the disc, and the bulging will squeeze that nerve, and that's what can cause pain down the leg.
And then there are muscles to consider. Anytime you overstretch or overtire a muscle, it can't return to its original shape. That puts ligaments, tendons, nerves, and discs at risk. You'll suffer back, neck, and sometimes arm and leg pain. So what can you do to keep your spine in the game? The first step is to use a neutral posture as much as possible. In its neutral position, your spine is relaxed, and its S-curves distribute your weight evenly. You can think of it as having a string tied to the crown of your head and suspended above you. Anytime you move out of neutral posture, it puts stress on your back. Watch this powerlifter. As soon as he feels the S-curve begin to flatten, he drops the load and readjusts his approach. He's protecting his most important resource, his carefully balanced back. Here's how to test to see if you're in a neutral posture. Stand with your back at a door jamb. Your upper back and buttocks should touch the jamb. Your heels should be a few inches away. Slide one hand into the space between your lower back and the jamb. It should slide in easily, but almost touch both your back and the jamb. From the side, a neutral spine looks like this. Your neck, shoulders, hips, and front of your ankles all line up. Your safety zone is your position of power. Shift into your safety zone and you can feel your muscles gather leverage. Your spine assume grace and balance. And your body seems to grow stronger, more confident, more athletic. Well-trained athletes like Olympian Dave Johnson know how to stay balanced and in control.
One of the events of the decathlon that absolutely requires that you have body mechanics that are sound is the pole vault. It's an event, you're running along, you've got 17 feet of fiberglass in your hand, and suddenly you put your arms up and stick the pole in a hole in the ground, and the pole bends and it throws you up over a bar. At the impact of when the pole hits the back of the hole in the ground, there's an angle that your body absolutely has to be at. And if your back isn't strong, if your body isn't rigid, and you're not knowledgeable of body mechanics, you're going to miss that perfect position, and the pole's not going to bend correctly, and you're going to go back the way that you came.
Tony here is not an Olympic medalist, but he does have a champion's form. He's balancing the center of his body above his base of support. His stance is wide, with feet shoulder-width apart. Now, watch what happens when Tony reaches just past his toes to the edge of his safety zone and tries to lift. You can see his lower back muscles strain to maintain his stance. Do this often enough, or with enough load, and you suffer a painful injury. You're looking at Tony's at-risk zone. Your job requires you to move in and out of the at-risk zone all day long. Here's how to protect your back when you do. Move one foot out in front of you in the direction you're moving, keeping both feet flat and slightly flexing your knee. You will naturally bend a little at your hips as you reach. That helps to hold your neutral spine position. Stop and think about how you can keep your neutral back curve while extending base support. It takes practice, but it's worth learning. Now, watch as Tony tries to lift a load even further away from his body. This is his danger zone where his back and balance are most vulnerable. To protect your back, lighten the load, move both feet closer to your load, bend at the hips, and hold your neutral spine position. Always move smoothly. Jerky movements risk back strain. You can't avoid jerky moves if your grip slips. Have you ever seen a professional athlete grip a bat or a barbell or a football between his thumb and index finger? I don't think so. That's called a pinch grip, and it's a common habit of the industrial athlete. Watch Melissa grip the bat. She learned through endless practice to grip firmly with thumb and fingers. This allows large muscles to provide power and balance. Anytime you fail to use the power grip, you use smaller muscles and your back's at risk again. You can practice. The next time you're going downstairs, grip the handrail between your thumb and last 3 fingers. Then, grip the handrail between thumb and forefinger. Feel the difference? Don't put yourself at risk by pinching when you need power. Another habit you might want to change is the grip many people use with long-handled tools. When Terry uses an end-on-end grip with this wrench, he's just asking for trouble. Now let's change his behavior and get him to use an over and under grip. While one arm provides power, the other provides balance. That way, if the wrench slips, he maintains control and won't wrench his back. Frank's usually pretty careful, on the job and off it. But today he's come to work feeling a little under the weather. Watch as he moves closer and closer to his at-risk zone. You can see his back strain to stay balanced and still lift. Stop. Let's keep Frank in his safety zone by making him think before he lifts. Before you start, size up the load. If it's too big, divide it up. Get help or use a machine. Be honest with yourself about how much you can safely lift. Don't let pride in your strength cost you. Next, survey your route. Look for hazards like spills. Check for slanted or uneven surfaces. First, move as close to your load as you can. Now, with your feet shoulder-width apart, put one foot in front of the other. Bending at the hip, lean over your forward leg, keeping your spine neutral. Now, let your legs do the lifting first. The rest of your body can take up the slack as you continue the lift. Also, make sure the load stays close to your body. For lower loads, drop to one knee and lift the load to balance it on your other knee. Pause, adjust your grip, and lift to standing, holding the load as close to your body as possible. If you can stand your load on end, like this bag, flex your knees, bend your hips, reach down to grip the top of the load, and lift it close as you rise. If you have to turn, aim one foot toward your destination and use your feet, not your waist, to pivot or walk out the turn. Set the load down in one slow movement. Jerking movements can pull muscles in your lower back. Think of yourself as an industrial gymnast. Plan and balance every move. In gymnastics, jerky moves take points off and shorten a career. In your job, it's the same, only the points are taken out of your pay envelope. Try not to lift heavy loads above your waist. If they're bulky, position them so their center falls between your waist and your shoulders. Pushing is better for your back than pulling. When pushing, use the technique that keeps your back neutral. Usually that means pushing with both arms and your neutral spine. If you must pull, stay close to the load. Put one foot in front of you, slightly flexing the front knee over your toes. Now, steadily pull, shifting your weight from one leg to the other as you step. Some loads are better lifted with a balancing bridge. Watch how Jane balances with her arm and leg as she bends to pick up a small load. This is effective only for lighter loads. For professional athletes like Antonio Davis, occupational hazards go beyond sudden accidents. Repetitive reaching, twisting, and bending all are a part of the game.
Even when I lift weights, I don't do like I used to. I think as a young guy, thinking I was strong and able to do anything, I'd bend over at the waist, pick the weights up, and proceed about my business. And now I concentrate a lot on bending at the knees, keeping my back straight, and picking the weights up properly, and just watch how I do everything. When I'm playing with my kids, I watch how I pick them up, and no matter what I'm doing, I make sure that I keep in mind that I did have back surgery. My back is strong, but those are things that I have to do from now on out.
On a normal practice day, a basketball player can easily take 100 foul shots. Notice how the muscle of his forearm is doing all the work. The stress point is where it attaches at the elbow. This type of wear and tear, doing something over and over, can stress tendons, muscles, and sensitive nerves. This causes repetitive stress injuries like tennis elbow and carpal tunnel syndrome. You don't need to risk these disorders if you regularly let your body parts return to their neutral position. Here's how. When a job requires a lot of one movement, stop every hour and reverse direction. If you've been bending forward a lot, support your back and bend backwards for a few seconds. If you've been reaching up, gently drop forward and be sure you provide balance by gripping a solid object, or lean forward with hands on your knees. Even simply walking is a great way to relax muscles. In some facilities, employees shift jobs regularly, allowing them to use different muscles. In these cases, the industrial athlete performs a few stretching exercises to prepare for the next workstation. You can do it whether you change jobs or not. Just remember to reverse the stretch regularly. This returns muscles to neutral. Whenever you don't reverse stretch, you stress the next level of balancers. First, ligaments, then nerves, and finally, a disc. Another good habit to get into is breathing. Take deep breaths and drink plenty of water. 75% of your body's weight is supported by the water in the disc between your 4th and 5th lumbar spine in your lower back. Many back injuries result from weak, tight muscles. To protect your spine, the muscles supporting your back must be strong and flexible. A few pre-shift stretches will help you be more flexible on the job. Listen to a pro.
Before I go to work every day, I make sure I warm up with 5 to 10 minutes jogging and some other calisthenic exercises, and then follow that up with a good deep muscle stretch, particularly focusing on my hamstrings.
Let's talk about mechanical advantage. Pro sports forbid certain ways to increase muscle power. A boxer cannot put nickels in his glove. A baseball player swinging a corked bat is illegal. But this is where industry has the advantage. Any device that can help you in your work is fair play. You may have platforms and conveyors built above knee level and below shoulder height to minimize bending. Maybe bins are tilted or equipped with collapsible sides. Is there a dolly or other material handling device around? Use all these mechanical advantages. They keep you in the game longer. Even a ladder can be a back saver if you use it right. Don't overreach. Find a safe location for the ladder, extend it fully, or use a portable ladder. Have a coworker help move the load or materials. What if your job requires bending? Take a tip from this mechanic. Pad the fender and support yourself on your belly. Professional athletes know how important it is to protect their backs.
Body mechanics are 100% of everything that I do as an athlete. And it definitely, without those kinds of thoughts, without those kinds of specific trainings and stretching for the body mechanics, I wouldn't be the athlete that I am.
When I'm in the game, I make sure that I'm fielding grounders properly with the correct body mechanics, using my legs, and try not to strain my back.
It doesn't matter who you are, you know, it's just important to keep that part of your body strong so that you are confident about your back and whatever you're doing.
Remember, just like the professional athlete, you can avoid painful back injuries with proper posture, working in your safety zone, lightening your load, using proper lifting techniques that minimize twisting, bending, and reaching, and easing muscle fatigue with reverse stretches throughout your shift. Whether you're a professional athlete or an industrial athlete, a few simple steps are all it takes to defend your safety zone and protect your back.
While research has yet to prove one way or the other if back belts work or not, many employers have elected to use them as part of a back safety program. If back belts are used, certain important ideas must be kept in mind. Number one, a back belt does little good if it's improperly fitted. Back belts that are too high, too low, or too large or small for the employee are not helpful. Back belts also can be used to help hold pants up in the situation where employees are wearing pants that come down so that they can't move their legs into a proper lifting position. Employees have to remember that the back belt doesn't make them supermen or superwomen. All the previously mentioned rules of lifting must be followed even wearing a back belt. Injuries can occur while wearing a back belt if proper lifting technique is not followed. Back belts are used in a specific way by employees when they go to lift something heavy. Usually the back belt is worn loosely for most activities. When the employee approaches an activity that involves lifting, the back belt should be tightened. This will cause the employee to stop and think about the activity, tighten the side panels, and then the employee can then proceed with the proper lifting technique. For certain situations, a heavier lifting belt may be used. This is a gym-style lifting belt with stiffer sides that provide no give. There's no elasticity in it, such as in the suspender belts. This would be appropriate for heavy, frequent lifting, such as moving bags of concrete or bricks. Whichever belt you use and for whichever situation you use it, it's important to remember that belts will not protect you from injury in and of themselves. It's important to follow all the rules of lifting which we covered earlier so that you can use these belts safely and prevent yourself from becoming the victim of a back injury.